So I never got a chance to really talk about this, but Vince McMahon made the news this past week by coming out and basically announcing, or just coming out and saying he's going to be selling a third, from what I understand, a third or a fourth of his stock in TKO. Basically his shares. And word is Ari Emanuel and Mark Shapiro are going to be buying up a huge part of it, and individually, I think, and other members are going to be buying up some parts as well. But here's the question people are wondering: does this mean Vince is gone from WWE? I mean, from WWE, TKO, Endeavor? Is he history? We don't know. We don't know if that's true or not, because Vince, in my opinion, is a guy that you cannot underestimate him. He has a history of basically proving why he is the successful SOB, whether you like the guy or you don't, that he is. He always finds a way to be a step ahead, if you will, when it comes to certain things. And if he wants to sell his stock, that's his choice. At least a third of it, anyway. Does it mean it lessens his power? Yes. But the thing is, he didn't become the billionaire that he became successfully without doing things like this, and then basically using methods like this to make a comeback, because that's what he's known for. Now, I'm not saying that Vince is selling his stock so that way, if rumors and speculations, very very suspicious rumors and speculations, basically meaning they're not like totally true yet or validated yet or anything like that. They're just talk, hearsay, nearsay kind of talk. But there is talk going around. Like I said, the very suspectable. Take it with a very very grain of salt. Talk that Endeavor might be selling, that Ari Emanuel might sell Endeavor, and by extension TKO, and some of the buyers in line could be people like the Saudis and others. But again, these are things that are just speculations and talk, that are just swirling about, because Endeavor is kind of in debt, if you will, by I think $4 million or something like that. I'm not really sure. 400 million. I don't know what the amount is, but it's an amount that I honestly think they could bounce back from, without a shadow of a doubt. But there is that talk going around that Endeavor financially might have to say, here, we're for sale. Anybody want to buy us? Kind of deal. Put the for sale sign in front of the office. I look at it this way: why would you go out and decide you want to possibly, or even consider talking about selling your company after a merger like this? And one of the things you put out there to really prove that this is legit, this is all, through and through, this is all legit, this is all 100% on the up and up, whatever you want to call it. Why would you go out of your way, spend money to put two massive statues, if you will, corporate statues of a WWE championship and a UFC championship side by side of each other outside of your HQ for TKO? Why would you do that and then consider, we might have to sell? Again, this is where the whole situation of it's hearsay, nearsay kind of stuff comes in, and taking this with a very strong grain of salt. But when people hear that Vince is doing things like this, they either look at him as being a genius for basically seeing the writing on the wall and being like, hey, I'm getting out of here before this Titanic sinks completely and takes me with it. Or they see him as the manipulative genius that basically will sell his stock, to Endeavor, to Ari Emanuel, to Mark Shapiro, to other members and all that, for the amount he's offering, and then use that amount that he's getting to potentially save up and build towards repurchasing his company. Because he is the kind of guy, let's be honest, Vince McMahon is that kind of a guy that will, do that kind of thing. He's that kind of a shrewd businessman that he will do that kind of stuff. He will sell a massive amount of his stock to whoever wants to buy it, only to use the money he's going to receive to purchase, the company, or purchase whatever he sold previously back to himself. A lot of business people have been known to do that. And why? Because basically they're not satisfied with the deal that they currently made. I mean, everybody speculates that Vince thought he was going to get power and everything upon this sale. He was going to be back stronger than ever. Vince McMahon back in charge. Nobody can stop him and touch him. And yet we're seeing exactly what I've talked about before. That Vince McMahon is not going to be in that kind of a position. That Ari Emanuel is looking at him as an executive chairman meant to do executive chairman stuff, and that the creative should be handled by those that are in that area, that are experts in that area, have proven successful in that area. Thus they should be doing that full time and nothing else. Thus, why Triple H, is running things along with his crew. That's that reason. So, so Vince could be the kind of guy that sees this and is like, well, this is not what I wanted. This is not what I was thinking I was going to get. And he could be doing this just so he could probably, again, I look at him like the kind of guy that's manipulative enough, with his past experiences, that he could do something like this just to buy his company back if there's rumor going around that, Ari Emanuel and his crew might want to sell Endeavor, and Vince might say, well, I won't buy the whole Endeavor, but I'll buy WWE back from you. That's something he would be willing. This is some kind of a strategy, as strange as it is, that he would take. This is kind of, this is the kind of direction, the kind of plan that he would go with, method-wise, to get back his power. He'll lose power. He'll lose stock. He'll lose stock and power. By he'll basically have to make sacrifices. I do apologize. That's my mom watching the Blue Beetle movie, and she's getting a kick out of it. But like I said, he'll lose power and everything. He'll sacrifice any power that he has right now, along with any financial gain or any financialness that he has along with it, as part of a method to try to get back the power he once had, by taking whatever money he gets from the purchase of his stocks and putting it towards maybe trying to get back to WWE in some kind of way. Because again, if people are speculating that Ari Emanuel is planning to sell Endeavor down the line, which we don't know when that could be years from now or whatever, because of the debt they're in. And again, this is stuff that you have to take with a very, very grain of salt, very speculative stuff you have to really really have to think about, if that is true, but if that becomes true in the future, and Vince is still around, then, who's to say he won't try to purchase his company back with what he's doing? Now, I'm not saying, again, that's what's going to happen. For all we know, like I mentioned earlier, and others brought this up, Vince might be seeing the writing starting to appear on the wall that, hey, Endeavor is going down, TKO is going to go down with it. I'm going to get out of here before this ship takes me down with it, as well. So who's to say he's not planning to do that by selling his stock? Again, not saying that's totally true, but it is something to strongly consider. But it is something to strongly consider. The point that I'm getting at is we don't know what Vince's future is going to be, even with the selling of the stock. I mean, Vince is, let's not kid ourselves, Vince is aware of a lot of the legal things that are basically floating, that legal dark cloud of the accusations and stuff that he's been called out for. Is he knows that it's looming above his head. He knows that. And he knows, at any time that lightning and, that the rumbling from that dark crowd can produce lightning and a downpour upon him that he can't get away from. So he could be looking at the fact that, hey, I got to get out of here when it gets good, so he doesn't have to, worry about going down with the ship, either because they're going to sell, if that's true, in any capacity, Or, he just doesn't want to risk the fact that, hey, he's hearing these reports that, hey, and he's probably hearing from people that TKO is considering him, Ari Emanuel, Mark Shapiro, all of them are considering him a liability. So he's probably thinking, well, if I sell my stock little by little, I can get the heck out of here, and I won't have to worry about being part of this, whatsoever. He could try to, basically make a run for it, if you will, in his own way, by selling off his stock and saying, hey, that's your responsibility now. I'm out of here. I'm done with that. And maybe it's because he doesn't want to deal with the fact that if he remains and all these accusations come down upon him eventually, that not only does he know it's going to be a bad look for the company he's associated with, but as a result, the company's going to come down upon him and be like, we never should have brought you in. We should have followed the example other companies wanted to follow if they were going to purchase you, and that's basically get rid of you the moment we bought the company, or the moment the merger happened. He doesn't want to deal with that. He doesn't want to deal with the fact that, the company could come back down, could come down on him, and basically say, hey, this is your fault that we're getting a bad rep. We should have not even considered having you around. And they can take him to court. They can make sure not only is he taken to court for, what he's done to them, because they could legally do that, saying, hey, you're the reason we're put in this position. You're the reason we lost some money and all that. So we're taking you to court, suing you for not being truthful with us, and suing you for whatever reasons they feel justified for. And then along with that, you have what's going on with his accusations on top of that. He probably looks at this like, hey, I got to get out of here while the getting's good. And maybe, again, this is the first step in doing it, to sell a third or fourth of his stock to ensure that. Now, again, maybe all this is just hearsay, and he's just selling it because, hey, he realizes he doesn't have the power that he used to anymore. And why does he need this extra stock? Why doesn't he just sell it and see what happens? Maybe Ari and Mark Shapiro and the others can make profit off it. Maybe that's what he's doing. We don't know. But it is interesting to see this. It is interesting to see this, and it is a good thing for us content creators and all that, as JD puts it, because it gets us talking and speculating. Okay, what does this mean? What direction is this gonna go in? With Vince McMahon doing this, like, what is his true motivation? Is it to get out when the getting's good before Endeavor eventually sells, if any of that's true? Is he trying to sell his stock before maybe, the liability that people say he is comes crashing down upon him and the company by extension, and maybe the company basically forces his hand out and, forces him out with nothing, to show for him being there or anything like that? And maybe suing him and taking him to court along with all the other accusations? We don't know. Or is it maybe just a very stratified plan by Vince to, go step by step of selling his stock, lose a bit of his power, and then if any truth of, hey, Endeavor might sell things off to, pay off their debt, who's to say he's not using that money he's getting from selling his stocks to purchase maybe at least the WWE back from Ari? We don't know. All these things hopefully will come and be clearer as time goes on. But I can tell you honestly, like I said before, I do not think Vince McMahon truly likes Ari Emanuel. He doesn't. He doesn't like the guy. He's never liked the guy. Let's be honest. He only pretends to like him because of business reasons, to basically try to improve his reputation, or what little there is. But he doesn't like him. And I think by him doing the selling of the stock, either way you look at it, that's just one way of showing, in his own subtle way, I don't like this guy. I don't like being bossed around by this guy. So I'm going to get out of here where I can, or I'm going to sell my stock and save the money up that I get from it to potentially try to buy my company back. He could do that. And he could do that, but That's probably how he feels. That's probably what his thought process is. Or maybe he hears the rumors of, like I said earlier, about Endeavor, and like I mentioned earlier, he might be like, hey, I'm getting out of here before this thing takes me down with it. Or he's hearing the talk around the cooler of, hey, he's a liability, and he's a risk, to the company, and maybe he's trying to get out with getting good before, whatever, he's being accused of and everything, his liability comes back to bite him and the company by extension, and they end up forcing him out, they end up forcing him out, and he has nothing to show for his time there as an executive chairman. Again, it's all mere speculation at this point, like I said, but I look at this, like I said, like I just mentioned, I look at it as just a very subtle way of him acknowledging he does not like Ari Emanuel, that they're not really friends, and that this friendship is just a facade for business, and that's it. Because if there was any real truth to it, to that friendship, then, I don't think Vince would be selling the stock. I don't think he'd be selling the stock whatsoever. And I think Ari Emanuel would use any money that he has on hand, he probably has lots of it, to probably buy Vince McMahon out of his, crazy situation he's in right now. If the friendship was true, which I don't think it is. I mean, I always picture the fact that when, I always picture in my mind that Vince, anytime he gets an opportunity, will try to sneak backstage or something like that at a Raw or a SmackDown or a PLE, try to take over, try to make suggestions to Hunter about doing this and that. And I always have it in my mind that I could see Ari Emanuel showing up and going like, Vince, what are you doing? And I could see Vince going like, nothing, Ari. I was just messing with my son-in-law. You go and have fun, Paul. You go do your thing. You go do your thing, Paul. I'm just having fun with him. And then when Ari's not really looking, Vince under his breath would kind of look back at him and go like, I hate you. Because I think that's how he really feels. It's like Ari could show up, mess up whatever plans he would have, in the future, like maybe trying to take over creative again. And Vince under his breath could be like, I hate you. Because he doesn't like the guy. He truly doesn't like him. And again, I know as crazy as it sounds, I know I'm being repetitive here, him selling his stock, I think, is just a prime example of him not wanting to be around Ari Emanuel anymore, not wanting to associate with the guy anymore. So he's going to he's going to do what he can to get out of this. Either get out of it to sell, either get out of it by, selling his stock and whatever else he has to do, save up the money, and then possibly when the opportunity presents itself, buy back at least his company, the WWE, and own it again. Or he's, like I said, using it to do the other two things. Either getting out while the getting's good before any potential sale of the company happens, that way he doesn't go down with the ship. Or he's trying to get out while the getting's good before his liability and risk comes back to bite him and the company by extension, and they, because of what his liability and reputation has done, as of recently, they, because it's affecting them, could toss him out with nothing to show for his time there. No shares, no nothing. He could be pretty much fired and removed and have nothing, compensation wise to make up for that. I mean, I know people say he's got this thing contracted into where he gets paid even if he's let go or something. I think he could lose that if, that third speculation of his liability, his risk, and everything to the company that's been noted comes back to bite him and the company by extension, and they have to end up basically forcing him out, like that, firing him. I think he'll lose whatever deal he had, to be financially secure afterwards. I could see that happening. But who knows what's going on with Vince right now? Who knows what's going on with Vince? And why he did this. Again, it's just mere speculation, the reason for this, mere speculation, very grain of salt of maybe why the reasons are, especially like the sale of Endeavor, because, why would you, again, spend money to put, two big, giant size championship belts of WWE and UFC outside of your new TKO building. If you were in debt, why would you do that? So that's like I said, that's very hard to believe, and it's something you got to take with a very, very grain of salt, very, very hard grain of salt, and everything. So we'll just have to see what what the next step is here. If any more information comes out, I'm sure Sean Ross Sapp and others will let us know about it. But what are your thoughts? What do you think the reason is for Vince doing what he did? Do you think it could be any of the options I mentioned? Or maybe you think he just feels like, hey, I'm not in charge anymore. I don't have the power I used to have anymore. So why do I need this extra stock? I'll just sell it and see who else wants it. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comments as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. And until next time, guys, I am out.